Welcome everyone, this is Adamant MTG and I'm here to do another tutorial on Magic the Gathering Arena. This is a new player deck building tutorial talking about deck templates, and the idea here is to follow along with the structure of the deck and build what you can in your collection, because everyone's collection as you start out will be different. This gives you a good basic way to create your own decks with very simple creature-based deck builds. Now, the red template is a little different than the green creature template, as red has a different color identity. It has some burn spells and spells to improve the creatures and to get blockers out of the way. So the idea of red is very aggressive style of play and a disregard for your own creature's livelihood. You want to be attacking and getting in there for as much damage as possible. So the template carries with it this sort of the same mana curve aspects to it. The mathematical ability to play the game in the early turns and then flow into the later turns of the game where your more powerful creatures come into bear. As you can see with red, there a lot of the deck happens in turn 1, 2, and 3. The majority of it does, so it's a very quick and aggressive play style. So if that's your thing, this is how it breaks down. Goblins seem to be the tribe of choice. We have 9 goblins in the deck, but that wasn't really intentional. It was just putting together a good variety. And here we go. We have 23 creatures in the deck. There's not much else to say. 23 land, because a lot of the deck comes out on turns 1 and 2. You don't need to go with 24 and mana ramp like you did with the green deck with bigger monsters. So without further ado, that's the breakdown. Let's just give it a shot against Sparky and show you how it plays. If you didn't watch the other video, I guess the other thing to say is the intention here of this template is if you import this deck with the link that's below in the video, you can, when you go to the import page, which is right over here, you will click export on the link. You will go to import and it'll bring the deck into your arena collection. If there are cards that are flagged that you don't have or you don't own, it will simply give you a warning. Just ignore the warning on import, and then when you open the deck up, you'll be able to select or see the cards. They'll be earmarked as you don't have them. You will find what's in your collection. You'll sort by that particular casting cost. So let's say it's a 3-drop you don't have. You'll sort by red, 3. It'll show you what is available as long as you have that collected buttons selected. It'll show you what you have available in your collection, and you'll just replace it with the casting cost. And if you want to experiment with other cards, maybe there's something you really want to try and it's not the matching casting cost, that's fine too. The idea here is just to give you a guideline to build a deck in this way. But this is by no means a hard, fast rule. These are just helpful ways to, go through and start building with a system in place. Of course, that system can change and adjust. If you bring other decks that you have built, maybe things from the internet or things that your friends have shared with you, you might not see the exact sort of build technique that I'm using. This is something that just is a simplified way of making sure your games are consistent and you get a lot of value out of play. If you find your decks have a lot of high casting costs because you're really excited about the big creatures and the big things that Magic can do, that's fine, but you will also have plenty of games where you aren't even getting there. These decks are designed to get there fast and sort of give you the flow of a tempo-based game, I guess, for all intents and purposes. You can play Magic a lot of different ways, and you can build decks a lot of different ways. So this is just an idea to show you how creature decks can work in this formula. If you want to go, all 7 casting cost creatures, you can do that. But like I said, it's about the flow of the game and how things lay out. So this is again for new players. So without further ado, let's get in there and fight Sparky. And we'll see what Sparky brings to the table. And how this deck works. All right, first decision to make is this a mulligan? It is not. We have spells we can cast, creatures. Things feel pretty good. Since we don't have any creatures, sometimes the desire to shock your opponent in the face is strong, but we are not going to do that. The reason we don't do that is we want to use our spells at the best, most efficient and opportune time, and taking them from 20 to 18 does not really do anything long term for us. So we are instead going to drop that and put on a creature, a scary cat. I don't know if it has extra eyes or it's just markings on its fur, but it's pretty frightening. All right, and here's the example of when you use your spells. Now we have, so they gain 2 life. It's interesting they're playing white because this is sort of the antithesis of the red deck. The white life gain versus red burn. I like it. Sparky's already trolling us, telling us we're taking our time. We're going to be using the Bone Crusher Giant. Now the adventure mechanic is pretty interesting. It shows that it's going to be using all of my mana. See when I hover over the card, but we're going to use the adventure side of it, which is Stomp, and that is cast as an instant. We will be selecting that one, killing the creature that's going to block our 6-eyed cat, and then attacking with our cat. And so you want to use your spells to do exactly that. Eliminate the blocking opposition, swing for the damage. Your creatures do consistent damage. Your spells are better off until the end of turn. You know what? We're going to use this shock right now. So as you see, the ability of this officer is to give a +1/+1 till the end of turn. However, because it's on the stack, we are going to use the shock as an instant, killing the officer before the ability hits the officer. And here we are. We can attack. We'll do our damage, and then we have a decision to make. We can either cast the 4/3 Bone Crusher Giant as a creature. He's finished his adventure of stomping, and now he can come down as a 4/3. Or we could cast this and draw more cards. Or we could even cast this. And I don't know which one we should do. So we have choices here. I think in this case we have 3 land in play, which pretty much powers everything we have. I think putting the extra creature on the board now will put pressure on them to block. A 4/3 is pretty solid. They have another officer. This time we can't respond, but as you can see, that +1 goes away pretty quickly. 4th land, that seems good. And now if we attack, we do have this tricky spell, which will keep us alive and kill his blocker. So this is an instant, so we don't want to cast it too soon. We want to attack with our creatures first, see how he decides to block, and then take. And then we have some decisions to make. We can, of course, infuriate the 6-eyed tiger, and that means we do 5 damage, or we can keep our Bone Crusher Giant alive, and that seems like a good play. So let's keep the giant alive. The reason I took that damage was because it says whenever Bone Crusher Giant becomes the target of a spell, it deals 2 damage to the spell's controller. So this Bone Crusher Giant didn't like to be infuriated. He was very angry about that, so he kind of smacked us, let us know, don't touch him. He's got his personal space, giant, but we killed the blocker, and that was the more important thing. We can still use Light Up the Stage because I did damage, the way Spectacle works. So we will do that. Draw some extra cards. They feel pretty good, but I can hold on to them. Light Up the Stage says we can use them until the end of our next turn. So we've got some time. And incidentally, our opponent sees those cards. They know it's coming. Right? I have to understand how Spectacle works, apparently. Okay. Pacifism. Okay, so the giant doesn't like to be touched. He will do 2 damage. But he will be pacified and out of the game. And there's nothing really red can do about that. So it looks like that's an appropriate artwork. It looks like a giant was pacified. So now he's just happily... Is he knitting? Yeah. So crocheting or whatever he's doing. I like that he's using swords. That's so great. All right, we have 2 1/1s. We have a 2/2 creature. It's time to decide how we're going to get through here. I guess we need to use these spells over here before we lose them. So we're just going to cast that at their face. And we're going to take one of the blockers out. Oops, hold on. So here's an example of timing it well. We want them to lose these 2 lifelink creatures. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to attack. Chances are they'll double block. If they don't, that's okay. But we're going to hope that Sparky... We're going to try to bait Sparky into blocking here. Now, the reason we do that as a bait and attack like this is he'll go block, block. Maybe not. He didn't even do that at all. Okay, interesting. So because he could have blocked both of them and killed the tiger, we would have used the shock before damage was dealt, kill one of the blockers, and then the tiger eats the other one. So instead of their teaming up to kill the tiger lives and both things die. Since they didn't take the bait and they didn't block, we're still going to kill the tiger here, We're still going to kill the soldier just to get it out of the way because we don't want to lose that spell. We would have lost it because of the way that Light Up the Stage works. So now he makes it fly, which is pretty cool because we don't have a way to stop or block a flyer. And that's Max. Max likes to show up in every video just to make sure that you know he's happy and excited about life. And now we have more damage. So we're going to be dealing with the bad guys here. I think the play right now is to kill the officer. So we're going to use the second giant we have. We'll use Stomp. And stomp on the officer. And attack for 2. So with the red deck, the timing is a little bit more important because you have so many instants and you have spells that kill creatures. So I guess using your spells to the best of their effect is really important in this particular deck. So what can we do now? This is pretty interesting. We get a 4/4. I think we need a big creature to put some pressure on our opponent. They are gaining a little bit of life every turn. But I think we can power through at this point. And we've got a really interesting card in the Spitfire. I'll show you how that works and finish the game with this card. Let me see. We have 4, 5, 6. We actually have 9. We have lethal on board, so I guess we should play it that way. So even though the Spitfire is a great card, we just didn't have the opportunity to cast it. Right now we have a mana to go lethal, and by that, they don't have a blocker. Unless this card is something that's interacting with our combat, we should be doing 9 damage. That's 4, 5, 6, 7. Hold on. Math. 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's do that the correct way. So we're going to attack for 6, take him to 3, And now in the second main phase, sorcery time, we finish our opponent off. No thanks, Sparky. It was a great game. Classic white versus red. And we have victory. So hopefully you enjoyed the tutorial. I know that Magic can be difficult, the timing of things. If I went too fast, or if you have any questions about the plays that I made, there's a lot of different ways to play Magic, of course. Everybody sees things in a different way as far as when to cast creatures and when to cast their spells. And the cool thing is that your personality and your gaming style will reflect upon the type of colors you play. And when you find the color identity of the type of decks or the type of playstyle you like, that's usually when everything in Magic clicks. So if the red deck didn't really click with you, we're going to be doing a tutorial on every other color. And you can also, of course, run decks with multiple colors in them to take advantage of different synergies and styles of play. So with that, hopefully you enjoyed this beginning deck building tutorial. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Thanks for watching.